On this week's Political Figure episode, we've got little Clanny Oakley. Born December 19th, 1986, unfortunately, Lauren Boebert is a millennial. On behalf of the millennial delegation, we have been made aware of the problem and are doing everything in our power to rectify it. But unfortunately, a specific group of divorced boomers and Gen Xers whose profile picture is always an awkwardly close-up nose shot of them frowning in the cab of their truck have been causing us unforeseen difficulties because their number one qualification for a representative is that they can be added to their spank bank material. QAnon Karen was born in Almonte Springs, Florida, which explains so much. Being the daughter of a teenage mom who had no idea who the father was, the future star of Beetlejuice would continue the proud family tradition by getting knocked up and dropping out of high school. Not being able to make ends meet on McDonald's minimum wage that she would eventually fight against increasing, she took full advantage of the welfare system she would go on to fight against. But trying to piece together Maleficent's origin story is tough because she seems to lie about literally everything, no matter how trivial. Like claiming she was raised in a Democrat household despite her mom being a registered Republican until Handy Quinn was 27. Or claiming she volunteered at the local jail for 7 years when jail records show she only volunteered there 9 times over the course of 2 years. Maybe she's counting all of the times that police brought her to jail involuntarily as volunteer hours. Like that time she got in an altercation with police for encouraging kids who were being arrested for underage drinking to get in a fight with the police and run away. Or the time her unattended dog attacked somebody. Or the reckless driving incident she failed to appear in court for. After marrying Jason, spelled with a Y in case you were wondering, Boebert, Lauren Opal Boebert Roberts, and yes, that is her full name, was able to add nepotism to her resume and get a job with the oil and gas industry that her husband, Jason with a Y, worked for. At some point along this life journey, Lauren Bonobo realized that she had yet to develop a personality, that it was far too much work to develop her own personality, and decided to make guns her entire personality. She made her residence Rifle, Colorado. She got her conceal and carry permit only to spend every waking moment not concealing the fact that despite having the IQ of a drunk koala and the emotional stability of a Jerry Springer episode, the state of Colorado deemed her fit to carry a firearm. Then her and Jason with a Y opened a restaurant called Shooters, where she encouraged her staff to open carry, because there's nothing like being waited on by Wish.com John Wayne. The restaurant was unsurprisingly an epic failure, recording hundreds of thousands of dollars in losses annually, having a restraining order put on it by the government for failing to abide by COVID policies, and then giving a bunch of people food poisoning from pork sliders before being shut down. Seeing the writing on the wall that Shooters would soon run out of ammo, she started looking for other job opportunities. But what kind of career could a high school dropout and failed restaurant owner with absolutely zero qualifications do? Run for the U.S. House of Representatives. A very low bar for that, apparently. It turns out, though, that she was incredibly talented and uniquely qualified at grifting men whose wives had left them out of campaign donations. Campaign donations she surprisingly had a lot of ethics investigations into for failing to disclose information she was required to disclose and reimbursing herself suspiciously large amounts of money. Despite being wholly unqualified, she managed to woo the voters of Rifle with her explosive personality. And by that, I mean guns. Her personality is guns. Remember? But like, what do you plan on doing if your constituents send you to Washington? She's like, I'm gonna wear my Glock. Like, okay, I don't think that's legal. And that's also not really a platform. She's like, shut up. The only platform I need is the modular platform of an AR rifle, which I intend to write a bill to make the official gun of the United States. I know this sounds like hyperbole, guys, but it's not. She actually wrote that bill. It didn't go anywhere because it's fucking stupid, but that was one of the few things she's done as a congresswoman. She also expanded her personality to include Donald Trump being a large part of it, because that's just like a requirement to be a Republican these days. Then she brought members of the white supremacist groups Threepers and Proud Boys onto her campaign and started organizing rallies with them against things like red flag laws, which is weird because Donald Trump famously said, I'm for taking the guns first, due process later, which is the literal definition of a red flag law. Also, since being a high school dropout probably doesn't look great for a congressional candidate, she decided to take her GED test and failed. But she took it again and failed. But third time's the fourth time. Fourth time's the charm. And all of this was apparently good enough for the voters of Colorado's 3rd. Since in office, she has paid someone, or more likely exploited an unpaid intern who's at least literate, to author 17 bills she could take credit for. None of them have passed, because they are all incredibly stupid. Like trying to give America an official gun. And then she didn't even pick the right gun. If we were going to give America an official gun, it would obviously be a 1911. 2 world wars! Every red-blooded American knows that 45 ACP is the Lord's caliber. It says right there in John Moses Browning 3:16. She wrote a bill trying to declare that fentanyl was a WMD because apparently she took war on drugs literally and thought it could be won with Navy SEALs. She tried impeaching Biden twice for reasons, I guess. Mostly, I think, because she didn't want margarine, taters, and cream to get the credit for being the most impeachy nut job in Washington. She's tweeted locations of politicians she didn't like during the January 6th insurrection, then voted against giving January 6th officers a Congressional Gold Medal. She's an election denier deny her. She voted against the Equality Act. She's against gay marriage, saying that she believes marriage is between one man and one woman, whoever they're having an extramarital affair with, and a dude in a public theater. She also doesn't believe in trans rights, but that actually makes sense because she supported and married a man who exposed himself to children in a bowling alley. So she's clearly a big supporter of forcibly subjecting people to unwanted penises. She's so deep in the QAnon conspiracy theory that to find her, you'd have to dig around in the basement of a slab-on-grade pizza place. She's a big supporter of Christian nationalism because fuck the separation of church and state, and she is a raging xenophobe, referring to Ilhan Omar as the Jihad Squad. And she made a joke about Omar not carrying in a backpack, so she was pretty sure that they were safe. Ku Klux Karen also obviously hates immigrants, wants to deport everybody and put up a border wall. Despite having 4 babies of her own, who have made her a grandmother at age 36, she hates babies. Being against bills to alleviate the baby formula shortage of 2022. She wants to abolish the Department of Education, which I can't say I blame her. She clearly didn't get her money's worth out of it. She opposes sex education, which I don't blame her because she didn't get her money's worth out of it. She's a big proponent of subsidizing energy, unless of course it's green energy because, you know, reasons. She voted against aiding veterans. She voted against the Allies Act to aid our friends in Afghanistan who helped us through the war effort get expedited visas to the United States so they didn't get murdered by the Taliban when we withdrew. She wanted to overturn Obamacare. She opposes universal health care, saying that it would put undue burden on small businesses because then small businesses wouldn't have to pay for health care. That, I'm sure, makes sense somehow. She hates women's rights, very anti-women's health care. Well, the storm's coming in. Rapid fire. She's rude to wait staff, blowing vape smoke in their face in a place where she's not allowed to vape smoke. She gives hand jobs in public venues where children are present. She got in an accident with her dog, child, and sister in the car who were injured, and she fled the scene because she thought it would look bad for her campaign. She's just all around a genuinely horrible person. Oh, wow. I'm glad that's over. That was a little dicey there for a minute. We had some nasty hail. All I'm saying, Colorado, is now we all know what would happen if the Onion did some weird science shit with a satirical congressional candidate. And that's cool, you know, like we know now, the more you know. But I think it's time now to try, you know, literally anything else. Okay, anyway, good talk. I'm going to go assess storm damage.